I'm Tina Chamberlain and I'm one of the area managers for Rural Action Yorkshire. In autumn 2010 I was working with some of our partners in South Yorkshire on a single contract for funding from Rotherham Borough Council. We'd met with Martin Kimber, who's the new Chief Officer, and he was quite keen that he wanted the CVS and partners to be involved in his vision for Rotherham. I'm pleased to announce that we've got a 4-year contract with Rotherham Borough Council, and we're hoping that this might lead to more coordinated services and better services actually for our local groups. There'll be less duplication and more joined up working. This is really good for Ray, because it's the first time that Rotherham have acknowledged that there are issues in rural Rotherham, and they are prepared to fund Rural Action Yorkshire to engage with rural communities and run events around the localism bill. Is that all right, little Ray?
Okay, I'm Peter Foyle and I work in South Yorkshire. One of the things that I did during the winter was to produce a report on rural Rotherham and look at different aspects of life in that area. We pulled together information from a number of different sources. We used some of the council's own statistics, but we also used information from the Joseph Rowntree Trust, who did quite a lot of work over the cost of living in rural areas, and also some further information which compared rural areas of Rotherham with other rural areas. And it threw up some very interesting information. I mean, the first was that some of the rural areas in Rotherham are actually just as deprived as other areas throughout the country. So there were pockets of deprivation even within the rural areas, which for some people is quite a surprise, because they often make the assumption that rural equals fairly well off. The other thing that we learnt was that the rural areas of Rotherham compare very badly to other rural areas. Things like car ownership, things like health are particularly bad, and that can be quite a difficult combination. If people are less likely to have access to a car, or if people are in poorer health, it makes it very difficult if you need to get to hospital or you need to get to a doctor. So it's quite important, I think, to highlight those sorts of things. The thing that Joseph Rowntree said, which was very interesting, was just the cost of living in a rural environment compared to an urban one. So if you're a family with children, it can be anything like 20, 30, 40% more expensive to do the same things that people in a town can do, in terms of leisure, in terms of childcare and access to services and things like that. So it's quite an important document, because what it said was that where local authorities and others are obviously struggling with the budgets and the amount of services that they can provide, don't just say, well, rural people are fairly well off, so it doesn't matter. It does matter. You know, we showed that the rural areas in Rotherham particularly do have issues that need addressing. So we hope the report can be used by parish councils, by local groups, as ammunition to say, look, we've got hard evidence that shows what it's like in our areas, and we want to stand up for the services, but also obviously acknowledging the pressures that people are under. Can we look at imaginative ways of delivering them? Can we think of ways of using community resources? Can we use different types of technology that perhaps allow services to be delivered via people's homes or via local community buildings, rather than people having to come out and visit? So we hope it's going to be useful. It was an important part of the project that we're doing, which was to say, you know, let's put rural communities on the agenda of the local authorities and others, and make sure that they're clear what the needs are from them.
Hi, I'm Amanda Kent and I deliver our community-led planning support service throughout Yorkshire. January was a particularly busy month for me, the greater part of which was spent using our newly acquired Snap Survey software for the first time. I got the opportunity to undertake data analysis for Thurstonland and questionnaire design for Criggleston, Hepsonstall, Todwick and Penistone. All in all, the survey software is a huge improvement on what we had before, and has made an unavoidably time-consuming job so much easier. January also saw the start of our support to the community-led planning group in Kirkeaton, since they'd secured awards for all funding just before Christmas. In tandem with that, I met with our community-led planning contact at Kirklees Council and gained some insight into the impact that the cuts in public spending were having. The council was obviously reeling from the extent of the cuts and had just begun the massive task of restructuring its personnel and services.